Hello everyone, it's Rotorstorm here, and after the success of the Scorponok versus Fort Max video, which is about, I think it's about my 5th highest views now, or something like that, it's nearly at 2,000 views, which might not sound a lot, but it's a lot for me. I decided to have another go at it. This one's a little bit different though. We won't have two Titans fighting against each other, and I won't be lying on the floor and trying to get all the massive things in shot. This is a toy you'll see me talk about in next week's Week in Toys, episode 7 I think that'll be. And this is Generation Select Rotorstorm. Now I keep talking about him being G2, but actually on research he wasn't. He was a tail end of Generation 1 or Generation 1.5 as some people call him. And this figure is absolutely wonderful. It's lovely. It's really lovely. It's a great deluxe. I love the Spinster mould anyway, and to get another version of it, I was just waiting for it to be Rotorstorm. It's got some lovely paintwork here. It's got some lovely rotor blades. It's got the same weapons as Spinster had, but repainted with a bit of yellow on there. And it's really lovely. It's got a tail propeller. It's a beautiful, beautiful alt mode. But let's bring in his father, shall we say, the Generation 1.5 original Rotorstorm himself. This is my childhood toy, and I think it's absolutely stunning. I think it was before its time, to be honest. I know articulation isn't great on it, but I absolutely love the design and the look of it. It's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. So, what we're going to first look at is the alt modes themselves. Now, this is more of a Voyager or even Leader scale figure, based on the sizes of today against a modern day deluxe. I think you'll see that the alt modes, I think this does a great job of actually mimicking this, but there's just something about this figure, something about it, so unique. I think it was repainted into a Sandstorm at one point, or a Beast Machines thing. So for alt modes, I think this guy does a pretty decent representation of the original figure. Obviously, it's missing those iconic cannons, and I think this is where the first point goes to Generation 1, or Generation 1.5, should I say, Rotorstorm. These weapons are the iconic weapons in both modes. So I think for accessories, Generation 1.5, Rotorstorm wins that battle. But what about the alt mode battle? Well, again, this does an amazing, amazing job, and it is a great modern representation of the figure. But, and this is a big but, there are certain aesthetic parts that are missing from this figure. Now, I think it's got the front down to a T apart from those weapons that we spoke about. But I think the dual kind of fins at the back were pretty iconic for Rotorstorm. So I think for me, even though I love this representation, it's a second point for alt mode for G1.5 Rotorstorm. So at the moment, in these two modes, we're looking at 2-0. So let's talk about gimmicks now. And this figure really doesn't have any gimmicks as such. It doesn't have any, anything apart from the weapons and the articulation. I mean, if we're classing this as the ability to spin and this is the ability to spin, yeah, that's all the gimmicks it has. However, Rotorstorm here, yeah, he can spin that's fine, but he has a couple of gimmicks of his own. So the first one is there's a button here, you press that, and these rocket launchers shoot down, which is one gimmick. You can also load these up with these killer missiles, and this is going to be lost forever if it bounces off the screen. Press the button, and those fire. They could probably do someone some real damage. Those shoot really, really fast, and they come quite sharp if they hit you. So not only does it take the alt mode crown and the accessories crown, it also takes the gimmick crown. So at the moment, this guy is winning the new figure 3-0. the transformations. And Generation 1 Rotorstorm is really simple. Is your stereotypical Generation 1 or 1.5 transformation. Really simple, really intuitive. And yeah, I love it. I love that transformation. But to me, this guy needs to take his first point. I know really it's down to the Spinester mould, so it's not really a point well earned just for him. But the transformation on this thing is absolutely awesome. I love the way that these one cockpit hides away underneath and how those transform. I love the fact that this actually tabs in and holds in place. I think that's absolutely awesome. So it is a 0.2 Earthrise Select Rotorstorm for transformation. Now let's get on to articulation. Let's have a look at this Generation 1 fellow first. You get nothing in the head, you get some outward movement of the arms, and you get a bend at the elbow, and you get a bend at both knees for transformation, and takes you that far. And that is essentially it for articulation on this guy. Nothing else. Typical G1. When it comes to articulation on the Earthrise Selects figure, you have some head rotation. I think it can do a full 360, but I don't want to chip the paint on it. Arms can do a full rotation and come out. You have a bend at the elbow. It's a double hinge. You get a rotation at the wrist and the waist. Legs can go all the way out and all the way forward and all the way back for the full Van Damme. You get a bend at the knee and you get ankle rockers. So all the articulation you would desire on a figure this size, and maybe even a figure this size. So it's another 0.2 Earthrise Selects. Of course it would be with articulation. This guy is amazing. Amazing articulated figure, and what a great time we're living for Transformers. Now he's getting a little bit of he's having a bit of a comeback, isn't he? We're now at 3-2. G1.5 figure is winning. Let's talk about overall design, and I think these two are really, really close. And this figure really does homage this one. Now, one thing that's pretty iconic about Rotorstorm, apart from his cannons, I always found is this beautiful chest piece. And the propeller blades that split up and go into two, and there's some of the iconic features of Rotorstorm. I really love the engraved Autobot logo in this like fuchsia pink clear plastic, and the light piping on this guy is absolutely stunning. His rotor is also made of clear plastic, and this to me is Rotorstorm. So when it comes to the Earthrise Selects figure, they've made a decent attempt at trying to mimic Rotorstorm's cockpit here. However, I would like to have seen that actually somehow retooled. I know it would have looked a little bit odd with these legs down here, having 3 cockpits on there, but I would have liked to have seen it. And maybe some way of actually splitting this out so it can mimic those bending tail fins. And of course the weapons as we spoke about. And they've done a great job considering this is just a straight repaint of this. If you took this head off and just had this one repainted as the original pictures had shown, apart from the colours, you would have had no clue that this was actually Rotorstorm. Now for design and the representation of the character, to me, which is a toy anyway, it's another 0.2 Generation 1.5 Rotorstorm, so he now is in the lead, 4 points to 2. So let's have a look at value for money. Now this guy here cost me, I think it was around about £20, maybe £23 posted. Is a good representation of the figure, and I really, really like him. When it comes to the Generation 1 guy, if you're lucky enough to find one on eBay, you can get one maybe with just the rotor blades, or missing the rotor blades with his weapons, for around 20 quid. If you're looking one in this condition with a couple of rockets, you're looking at about the 50 quid mark for this figure. And it is a vintage toy. It has stood the test of time pretty well. However, what I will say for value for money wise, if you did want a representation of Rotorstorm, I would go for this guy right now. Simply because you're going to be paying for the nose online. Maybe if you're looking for one at a convention or something like that and he was there, pick him up. I do recommend you pick up this figure if you haven't got one, or at least a version of the mould. But for now, because he's available, because he's a select, you should be able to get your hands on him. I'm going to give the point for value for money to the Earthrise Select Rotorstorm. So that's it. Generation 1.5 Rotorstorm has won the battle. But it was close. And you know what? This is all a bit silly anyway, because these are two great toys. And to be honest, buy both of them. I know what people will be saying and asking me, so I will show you this. These cannons, do they fit in his hands? Because if you're like me, I've been toying with the idea of getting some reprints of these, some maybe 3D printed ones, and get them for Rotorstorm for the shelf. And the answer is they do. They're a little bit loose, but they do. Well, they don't hold. But they will hold on a shelf. And you could always, if these are 3D printed, you could up the tolerances a little bit or something like that. But I think that works. And I am going to have a look at getting a couple of these reproduction ones. I have seen some on the net that have a lighter blue colour to match this, which would be awesome. But yeah. So those do work, which is wicked. And they also do peg on in helicopter mode as well, which is really cool. So all in all, two great figures. To be honest, as I said, add them both to your collection. Have you found this video? Do you like the Versus format? I really enjoyed making it. And let me know if you want me to compare something new to something old. Anyway, until next time, I've been Zort Rider, and I'll catch you again soon.